are exceptional, cooked on a real grill for the best flavor and less fat. And for dessert, blizzards are unequaled. Personally, banana split is my all-time favorite. Dairy Queen Silver Springs, where we always treat you like kings and queens.
Now you've done it. Have you lost your mind? He's back. And you're listening again. A legend in his own mind. Don't believe me? Just ask him. Here's Tom Schmitz live on WOCA. The Source.
Welcome back to Ocala Talks. I'm your host, Tom Schmitz, coming to you from the palatial studios of WOCA Radio, just off the runway at the Ocala International Airport. I will tell you that part of the perks of my job is, you know, as a guy, you know, we have an inner little boy in us that we, you know, when a fire truck comes by, we always want to follow the siren, see where it's going. You know, big heavy equipment, we'll stop and watch, you know, a front end loader or backhoe work for a while. Cranes, we like cranes for some reason. And we like airplanes. Part of the perks of my job is I get to see airplanes take off and land all the time, but I get to see them move them around too. And right now, they're moving right now they've moved 4 airplanes into my view out of one of the hangars. And it's just to watch how they move them and everything is just, it's like poetry almost, how it flows. It's very unique how it happens. And so it's one of the perks I have of looking out the window here right at the runway is I get to see this kind of movement on a regular basis, and I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it. I really am okay with it. What I'm not okay with is what happened yesterday on Twitter. I'm not okay at all with what happened on Twitter yesterday. And even though the person that they banned might need to be fired, I'm not okay with the ban. White House correspondent Emerald Robinson has permanently been banned from Twitter on Tuesday. According to Twitter, it's for repeated violation of Twitter rules on COVID-19 misinformation. Well, who the hell knows what information is misinformation nowadays? Emerald Robinson works for Newsmax. She returned to the social media platform just hours earlier after a 7-day suspension for claiming some crazy stuff about the COVID-19. I'll give you that. She said that there's bioluminescent markers that allow people to be tracked. That is one of the conspiracy theories. She put that on her Twitter account, and she believes that to be accurate. And if she's just giving disinformation like that or information that can't be proven like that as a reporter, Newsmax needs to fire her. And Newsmax seemed to have done that. They've taken her off the airwaves. But now Twitter's banned the sitting president. Now they banned a White House correspondent, all because they don't like the message they're giving. And I know Twitter's a private-owned company, and they can make a decision on who's on and who's off. I get that. But this is a slippery slope when you start banning people because you don't like what they're saying. Remember I told you that the biggest threat facing education isn't critical race theory, it gender relations. It's the fact that people don't understand civics and it's not being taught, and so students have no understanding of civics. Well, here's an illustration of it. A millennial, because millennials own Twitter. Here's an illustration of that you don't understand how the press works. Can the press spread falsehoods? They do all the time. It's called NBC, CBS, ABC, CNN, MSNBC, CNBC, Fox News, Newsmax, OAN. They all spread falsehoods. Because they're not worried about reporting the news anymore. They're worried about clicks. They're worried about the dollar. Nobody's worried about the news anymore. Yeah, I said all of them. I put everybody in there. But if you're going to ban her because she put out some disinformation that you deem disinformation, we got to ban everybody because they all put out disinformation. If you've watched the mainstream media in the last week, you would think that the judge in Kenosha, Wisconsin, is just doing everything he can to make sure this kid Rittenhouse gets off these murder charges. When in actuality, if you watch the court cases, the judge is just holding the prosecutor and the defense to the letter of the law. But that's not how the mainstream media plays it. Oh, this judge is biased. They're spreading disinformation, inaccurate information. Twitter's not banning them. If you're going to ban somebody for disinformation, you're going to have to ban every person working in the news media these days, almost. Because it's no longer about telling the truth. It hadn't been for a while, in my opinion. Now it's about what makes the people that listen to my show want to listen more. That's all it's about. If it was about real news, you wouldn't have people like Brian Kilmeade as a news analyst. You wouldn't have people like Joey, with the MSNBC, Joey, I can't even remember her last name. You wouldn't have her. You wouldn't have Cuomo. You wouldn't have this woman, Emerald Robinson, who thinks that, there's bioluminescent markers in the shots that are letting people be tracked. Everybody in the news media these days, for the most part, shares disinformation because they're not worried about the truth. They're worried about what makes the people that tune into them want to stay tuned in. They're more worried about making their listeners and viewership happy than they are about telling the truth or giving the truth. So if you're going to ban one, you got to ban all of them, Twitter. But you won't do that because you banned her because she's telling a story different than what you agree with. You agree with the national media, with the mainstream media, so you're not going to ban them because to you that's not disinformation. That's accurate because you agree with it. That's a problem. Yep, Twitter. They banned a right-wing network, White House correspondent. A conservative network's White House correspondent has permanently been banned, just like Donald Trump was permanently banned because they didn't tell the story the way Twitter wants it told. And that's a problem. We'll take a break. We'll come back more on the other side. You're listening to 1370 AM, 96.3 FM. This is WOCA coming to you live from just off the runway of the Ocala International Airport in Ocala, Florida. The Source.
Broadcasting from the Ocala International Airport, this is WOCA AM, W242CA FM, Ocala, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, The Source.
USA Radio News with Lance Pry.
The defense has rested in the